I'm Andy. I teach mythology and folklore, and this is Tantalizing Myths. Myths are stories. We covered that in the first video of this series. However, it's complicated. Mythology folds into religion quite readily. Whether it's Greek mythology as the foundation for worshipping the Greek gods, the same for the Roman, and there are differences between the two mythologies, even though Rome plagiarized. Japanese Shinto stories, Hindu stories in the Vedas, or any of the Abrahamic faiths of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, the stories are mythology. After centuries of interpretation and tradition, these stories are almost always viewed in a particular way. And that means bias. I'm not saying it's like the bias in the news, just a predisposition to how the stories are interpreted and implied. Like Red Riding Hood is a story about not talking to strangers. The bias is the lens that we pretty much always view the story through, giving it a singular or small range of interpretation. Our brains get used to looking at the stories in the same way every time. Sometimes this means we even emphasize certain parts of the story or exclude others to make it fit the standard interpretation. This especially applies to favoring one set of stories over another. Someone of the Hindu faith likely favors the stories from the Vedas over those in Greek mythology or the Bible. They'll have more meaning simply because they're tied to personal faith. Now, I could refer you to the cognitive science of religion, which is the domain of scholars like Dan McClellan, and his channel and ideas are worth checking out. However, I like metaphors, so I'm going to send you to watch Smarter Every Day's Backwards Brain Bicycle, link in the description. You can go watch it now if you want. I'll wait. No, you have to push pause in order for me to wait. Moving forward, our bias in interpreting stories have become like riding a bicycle. We do it the same way every time. A neural pathway develops that says this is how the story is interpreted in the same way as this is how a bike is ridden, and it depends on the same kinds of variables every time. In Destin's video, they changed one thing. Moving the handlebars to the left turns the wheel to the right. That one change was enough to disrupt the entire algorithm. It forced Destin to completely relearn how to ride a bike. This is true with myths too, especially those myths tied to belief and identity. The stories aren't just abstract stories, they have significant meaning in faith and personal lives. To interpret a story in a different way disrupts the entire algorithm associated with belief and identity. Interpretations or information that runs contrary to the previous belief makes us fall off the bike. And then, like with Destin, he had to relearn how to ride a normal bike. His emotions during the entire process are important. Redesignating a bias or being open to other interpretations of a story is hard. It's frustrating. It's counter to what we quote unquote know, but it can also be very rewarding. I went through this myself when it came to the Bible. I grew up learning the Bible through a particular lens, but when I took a graduate class on the Bible as literature, it opened my eyes to new ways of looking at the text that led to more interesting ideas and revealed stories to me that I didn't even know existed. Maybe I'll tell you about it sometime. It cuts the other direction too. The bias can prevent you from recognizing elements of certain stories or from acknowledging stories outside of the bias. I had a number of students who looked at stories from Greek mythology and wouldn't engage because it wasn't like the Bible was. Remember back to the first video in this series? Whether a story is true or not doesn't matter. So when it comes to mythology, be aware that there's almost always a bias because of the complex algorithm of belief and identity that ties to these stories. Be aware, be patient, and be open to new meanings that can enrich belief and identity. As my Bible as Lit professor told us, most of the students actually found their beliefs enhanced by closely studying the stories. Analyzing a story in a different way doesn't mean destroying a belief. We just look at it differently. Thanks for joining me on Tantalizing Myths.